So I was asked to be one of the first to share on experience, strength, and hope in H&I. I, uh, I start out my stories one of two ways. You know, usually my story could start out with there was this guy, okay, and then the other way that I start out my story is I was a multi-state, multi-county offender, and that meant that I traveled a lot in my addiction, but I stayed real close to the dope man. So I went from county to county to county. By the time it was all over with, I had 18 felonies. So the first time I got clean was in '95, and I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous through some friends, and then also through treatment. Now, of course, I left treatment because there was this guy, and I went to meetings. I had 4 months. I wasn't done for sure, and went back out. And in the last year and a half of my using, I knew that I needed help. I just didn't know how to really get it. I was so far gone. By the time I got locked up, what I knew about Narcotics Anonymous was that other people got clean through Narcotics Anonymous, and that they also took meetings into jails. So I did the penitentiary tour, or the county jail tour, and I went to 5 different counties. And each county that I went to, I asked, "Do you have meetings, and can I go?" At some point in my life, during the first 2 months of my being locked up, something happened inside of me. And I knew that I had to do whatever I could to get clean and stay clean. Of course, I didn't talk like that before, like I didn't know the language of Narcotics Anonymous. I had read portions of the basic text, and it scared the hell out of me because I wondered, how did you people know? Like, who's been following me around? How did you know about me? And some of the places that I went, some of the county jails that I was in, they had NA, and some did not have NA, but they had like the other fellowship. I just knew that I just needed to do whatever I could to get clean and stay clean. So people brought meetings into the jails, and I went every opportunity I had. I got sentenced to the Colorado Women's Penitentiary down in Colorado. And when I went to that prison, they only had the other fellowship there, but we were a room full of drug addicts. And outside of that room, we talked about Narcotics Anonymous. We talked about Narcotics Anonymous on the yard. We talked about narcotic cells in our day rooms. We all had the books. We had, but in that meeting, we were in the other fellowship. But they also talked about drugs there. I think the thing that really struck me was that women who were doing life were sitting in that room with 10, 15, 20 years clean. And I couldn't understand why. Why would you do that? You're not ever getting out. What's the draw? It was years later that I understood, what the draw was, because it changes everything. Narcotics Anonymous, changes everything for us. So like I said earlier, I was a multi-state, multi-county offender. And so after I got done with Colorado, I had to go to Wyoming and, grace them with my presence for a while there. But when I got to Wyoming, I found that Narcotics Anonymous came into that prison. And the first meeting there, I remember all of a sudden I was home. They spoke the language, They talked about stuff that was so relevant to me. And that connection was formed in such a way that it's never been broken. So You know, Narcotics Anonymous is this amazing program that does so much for the addict that is behind the walls. And what they did, you know, for me was I wrote to Narcotics Anonymous and asked them for some literature, and they sent it to me. Okay. They sent me a basic text. They sent me IPs. I just couldn't believe that they would just do that, just out of, you know, just freely give me this literature. But I read it, I ate it up, I wanted to know more, and I needed to feed my soul. And I tell people all the time, you know, that prison saved my life, but Narcotics Anonymous taught me how to live it. So I knew that, you know, I had to do whatever it took to stay clean. I was locked up for a total of 4 years. And when I got out, I was already connected with people from the program. And I cannot tell you how valuable it is to have a meeting come into these places where there's such despair and such hopelessness. Just that seed to be planted, just that moment that you get to hear that you're not alone is invaluable. It's what kept me, and it's what kept me interested in Narcotics Anonymous when I got out. And for the grace of God, I have never had to use again. When I got out of prison and I was in the halfway house, I went to the meeting that was at the halfway house. And I met people in that meeting that are still a part of my life today. I took my seat in Narcotics Anonymous, and I've never had to give it up. So anyway, thank you so much for letting me share.